Everybody, welcome back to the Mile 17 podcast. It's Colton, your host. I have with me today Francisco, and I really just wanted to have Francisco on because we actually come from the same town, and I'm just interested in really hearing your story, Francisco, and kind of how you've gotten to where you are today. I've followed you on social media for quite a while, and I don't know if I've ever actually like had a conversation with you in person because I mean you were definitely a few years ahead of me in school, so.
Yeah.
um so I want you to kind of like paint the picture of your experience of, were you born in Sholo? Did you move there at a certain time? Just kind of paint the picture for us of your experience with Sholo and kind of growing up there.
Yeah. So my parents immigrated to the United States. So I was raised in Sholo. Um, and being like a small Mexican family in a very conservative small town was, we stood out a little bit at times. But no, at first I thought it was like, oh, this is normal. This is how everyone grows up. This is like your hometown vibes. Like everyone knows each other, um, knows their business. Everyone knows what we do on Sunday. Like, we all go to church
Right.
on Sunday kind of thing. And then once I started getting older, that's when I realized I'm like, oh, this is not really.
Right. There's more. This is not actually normal. Yeah.
It's not like that cookie cutter like family. Um, we all do this at the same time, the same day kind of thing. And I was like, okay. And once I started clicking the two together, and well, going back to like being the cookie cutter family and sticking out, I didn't know how to fit in with a lot of people for the longest time. So I kind of was told like, just make some friends. And then from there, I was like, oh, to fit in, I need to kind of like lay low, do what
Right.
everyone else is doing.
Just like
And
survive the day. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And kind of like don't bring attention to like the family kind of thing, So
Right.
it was just really awkward at times because I didn't fit in with like the other Mexican families. I didn't fit in with like the American families either. So it was just like learning. It's like, what do you want to bring into your culture, kind of thing. So once I started realizing that how beautiful like the Mexican culture was, and started implementing that into my life, that's when I kind of gave myself like a little bit more freedom, but also the permission to kind of explore my life outside of what my community was, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. When did your parents get to Arizona? How did they get to Sholo? Really?
I was one, so it was a very young age.
So were you born in Mexico?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
was. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I was brought over. Yeah,
What
we
part?
like northern Mexico, so it's like Rocky
Okay.
Point area.
Oh,
Yeah,
really nice. Do you ever go
yeah.
back?
No, I've not been
You
back
know?
actually. Like, it's
Really?
like,
Is that
yeah,
just like
I don't.
personal choice, or just hasn't the opportunity just hasn't come, or?
I would say it's definitely a personal choice. Like, we
Yeah.
don't have any family over there or anything, so it's just kind of like there's no need to go back. I haven't
Right.
gotten down to the point where I'm like, oh, I need to see where I come from. I'm like, no, like for me, like
Yeah.
home has always been Sholo.
Right. Do they still live there?
So after I left Sholo, they quickly started transitioning more towards like the Phoenix metropolitan area. So they're hardly up there. So I honestly don't ever go up there. The
Yeah.
last time I went up there was for like a couple funerals, and I'm like, that's kind of a bummer,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
have no intentions of going back, if that makes sense.
It's so interesting going back because my dad actually doesn't live up there anymore. He lives more towards the Phoenix kind of like Payson area.
Okay.
But my mom still lives up there, and it's very interesting. Like when I go home, she actually lives in Snowflake now, and so when I go there, like I don't even usually go through Sholo. I kind of just like cut to Snowflake and like just hang out at their house for however long I'm there, and then back to Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I don't really have like a lot of friends that are still living in Sholo.
Hmm.
It's so interesting to go back, and honestly I just feel like all these like floods of emotions and just like things just always kind of come back to me when I'm there, that I'm just like, I think I'd rather just like not.
Good emotions or bad emotions?
I mean, it can be a little bit of both. I mean, I can't say that it was all bad growing up there. I think there's some really great things that come out of living in a small town like that.
Yeah.
um like there, I can't deny that, but I think for the most part, like I just feel like it's like a part of me that I almost don't even like recognize. And so yeah, like I just don't love being up there, to be
Yeah,
honest with you. Yeah.
yeah. I
How was it? Were you, when you were growing up in Cholo, were you openly gay? Was it something you kind of kept to yourself? Like how was it easy for you to hide, or was it something that you kind of were like, how am I going to hide this? Like
At first, it was very much like, how do I hide this? But then I had friends from like different like friend groups kind of thing. So it kind of made it nice because a lot of them knew, a lot of them like took care of me, I would say. And I think because of them, I was able to like kind of just get by and be okay. At times it was difficult because it's like, one, I don't know how to process these things, and it's like, I don't know who to talk to about them, don't know who to look up to, if that makes sense. But also, I think the other part was it was just lonely. Um,
right,
and then other people that were very open and gay, they were very like a lot of people like talk shit about them. They like bullied them, and it's like I didn't want that for myself. So it's like the
right.
more like I was already used to laying low, so it's like you really need to lay low now.
Right.
Um, so I kind of involved myself in a lot of like extracurricular activities, to be honest, to keep me out of trouble and keep trouble away from me. But also it was nice because anytime we did a trip to like Phoenix or Flagstaff or like a conference of some sort, I got to meet a bunch of other people that were able to like just be themselves, and it kind of like that was kind of my escape. So I was always looking forward to like a school trip out because it was not in Sholo, if that makes sense.
Was this like kind of like student council, like government type things that you would do, that you would
It
see,
was
or were there
it
other theaters, or
yeah,
there was there?
yeah, so student council was one of them, but also drama club. We always went to like
Drama club.
thespian club down in
Okay.
Phoenix, where it's literally just a bunch of like I felt like it was the queer kids
Yeah.
escape.
Yeah.
And some straights and allies, of course,
Sure.
but primarily like queer students in high school, and it was just kind of a free for all to kind of just be yourself, and it was nice. It was a nice break, a breather, and it kind of reassured me. It's like, hey, there is life outside of this small town, and there are people that accept you for who you are, and it's not always going to be terrible. If that,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I can honestly totally relate to kind of what you're saying, in the sense of um like not having people to look up to. And because for me, when I look back on on this time when I was in high school growing up in Sholo, like I was in such denial. Like this was not something that I was at all, like not a single soul knew anything until I was an adult. And I I remember, like now, like there's movies, there's so much more of it, like that you can see and be like, oh, okay, like people do live this way, versus like I like when I was growing up, like you didn't see any of that. It was very, very like, touchy, like you're talking about, it being a conservative place. Like I grew up in a very like conservative family even. And so like these things were just like, one, not talked about, and two, like not okay. Right. Like it was just, and I don't even remember, like, because I think back to it and I'm like, what if, even if I was like, what would the high school experience have been for me, in the sense of like, there's not really like like a dating pool for people who are, part of the queer community. Like, what do you, like, how do you even get that like typical like high school experience, if you will, And so I can totally relate to you with like what you're saying about that. And I'm glad that you have the kind of like that escape to be able to like go down to these other things, and like see people that are, giving you like a different perspective, that like there is life out there. So
yeah,
that
no,
that's
for
awesome.
sure. Um, yeah, so I think that was the one thing that kind of kept me going through like the tail end of high school. And I think towards the end, I feel like more people knew, but also it also increased like it was harder towards the end because the more people knew about it, the more some people used it to take jabs at me. Not physical jabs, but like just
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
passing, it's like the
Yeah.
drive-by slurs, and it's just like, okay, well,
Did
whatever.
you get a lot of that? Like, did you feel like you were bullied at any point, or did you feel like people just talked about you, or that you just weren't able to like get in to just like be yourself and like have a conversation with somebody just because of who you were?
It definitely happened. Like I definitely felt bullied. People talked about me, obviously. It was just very like when you walk by a certain group of people, they're like all staring at you, and I'm like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Like please try to like mess with me so I can
Yeah.
like I was really good at protecting myself. That's the one thing. It's like I will throw down if I have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Not that I want to.
You almost have to though, right? Like you have to be able to like do that for yourself.
Yeah, I remember vividly like this one time I was walking home after school and I always like wait until everyone like left kind of thing anyway because I don't like to just like go out with the crowd. I'm still like that with big crowds. Um but I remember just walking around the parking lot and then these guys in their like pickup trucks, they're just sitting in the back and they're like flinging like CDs at me and I'm just like what are you getting out of this?
Right.
And the
Like
fact that I
why?
wasn't reacting pissed them off even more kind of thing. So
Right.
it was just like I'm like that was the extent of it, I would say.
Yeah.
But I remember like in class one time, like a teacher specifically, like we had to pick like a political figure for government to like do a report on, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick Harvey Milk. And then the first response I got from the teacher was like, "Do we have to?" And I'm like, "Bitch." May she
Yeah.
rest in peace. She's no longer with us anymore. But
Yeah.
for the record,
Oh
it
my
was senior
God.
year. Like, yeah. Anyway, so
Okay,
it was
okay.
like little jabs like that, even from like adults, and I'm just like, I can't wait to get out of here.
Right.
And
And that was
like,
I was gonna ask you that, like, like, were you always like, when I'm graduated, like, I'm out of here? Like, like you did, it wasn't even a second thought, or did you ever like think like, like, how am I gonna get out of here? Like, what is my next step? Because for me, like, I was always like, as soon as I'm graduating, I don't know where the hell I'm going, but like, I'm getting out of here, and I don't even know. Like I said, like I was in denial. Like there was a long time in my life where I was like, I'm not gay. Like this is not who I am. Like this will go away, and but when I think about it, I'm like, maybe subconsciously, like I was like, I got to get somewhere to like where I can just be surrounded by people who are more open to just, other ways of life, and just learning more about the world versus just like this little narrow mindset that you kind of have when you're there.
yeah. And it was, I think it was when I was 20, by the time I was 21, because I stayed for a little bit longer after high school. Um, just because like schooling through NPC was a little bit cheaper. So I
Sure.
was like,
Yeah.
knock out some community college now, save some money. But I like worked, saved a lot of money, and I told myself it's like you're gonna save enough to like get out of here, but enough to keep you out of here so you don't have to come back.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I was finally like applying for schools, I was like, all right, whichever one responds first, that's where I'm gonna go. That's where I'm gonna go live. And I applied to like NYU, UCLA, USC, and the first one to write back was UCLA. So I was like, Los Angeles, here we come. Like,
Nice.
adios. Like,
Nice. So you went to UCLA?
yeah, I did for a year,
Oh,
and then I was
okay.
like,
Oh, okay.
school, not for me. And I'm like, I'm over it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you at all.
But also, once living in LA, I realized it's like, oh, you actually don't need additional schooling to make a living for yourself or a career that you want for yourself. And
Right.
that's kind of what I did for myself now. And I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's highly unnecessary. This is my opinion on college now that I'm been out of it for about 5 years. Is I loved college. I had like such a fun experience. Like the friends I made, like I wouldn't trade it for anything. And obviously, you need it for things like being a nurse. But it
Totally.
is it is so non-essential to, like you said, getting a job. Making money, making a living, and there's like so many other ways that you can go about it without putting yourself like hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt for for what, like it's it's just a very expensive social experience for a lot of people because most people don't even use the degree they get. So
Exactly.
yeah, I totally can see that. So how was California? Like how was that transition whenever you got there?
Let me tell you, I moved out there in 2013. It was at the beginning of summer, and I was already familiar with the place because I had an aunt out there that I'd go visit from time to time. So I was already familiar with the area. Once I got into my apartment, I was like, all right, let's start just hanging out until the semester starts. So I got a part-time job at Starbucks. I went and explored like a bunch of free things that you could do in LA. So it's like be a studio audience member for this show, for that show. And I thought I was living life. Let me tell you, I was like, this
And
is so
that's pretty fun though.
cool.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun. I still to this day get like emails of like, hey, are you interested in going? And I was like, yes.
Yeah. I literally flew to LA and right before I moved out to Boston just to go to the Kelly Clarkson show because I'm obsessed.
That's
And
right.
now she's in New York, so I'm like, okay, now I definitely have to go now that she's out here. But
Yeah,
yeah,
like that. She's definitely one I would go to
so
go
fun.
see.
Yeah, so fun.
But no, I got a part-time job at Starbucks. So then, of course, like you trauma bond with everyone that works there because
Yes,
you're
of course.
all college kids, like doing this part-time gig with great benefits, and you're just like living life
Right.
essentially. And it kind of just like that was the first time I was ever able to like be myself around people. I didn't have to hide anything. It was kind of like a blank slate. And after I received like my first like paycheck, I was like, okay, we're not going back.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're actually doing okay. We're not
Yeah.
going back.
Yeah.
So no, I've kind of like promised myself, I'm like, no, this is the happiest you've ever been in life. And it's like, you have to do everything you can to not um, compromise who you are for other people. But also, it's like, if this is where you want to be, this is where you're going to stay, like,
Do you
kind of
still
thing.
do you still have friends that you had made from that like those first jobs there whenever you first got to LA, or did those kind of like drift away?
I do
Oh,
actually, and they're
nice.
some
That's
of my
awesome.
closest friends
It's
now.
amazing. Yeah.
I have two that I met while I worked at Lululemon that we met in 2014, still to this day are super close. I actually met my husband at that Starbucks,
Okay.
so
Nice.
he's still
Okay.
around. So
Yeah. So it was worth it. Yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely worth it. But no, and then a lot of them, I would say like there's a handful of people, and like I said, the trauma bond is real, but
Yeah.
yeah, you meet some very unique people, but also seeing each of you grow to like 10 years, from that time,
Right.
it's incredible because all of us were it was fun because we were all for the most part minorities or had some sort of like second class citizen status kind of
Right.
thing. So it's like seeing us persevere and like never giving up and having that little support system was kind of nice. So
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing that like you can move out there and like have that. I mean, that's honestly like what makes somewhere from what my experience has been like living in like different cities is when you move somewhere and you just have like that group of people, like it doesn't matter where you are, like you could be in somewhere like Show Love. You have that group of people. It just makes it like that much better because it's just a community. You feel part of something, and yeah, I love that you were able to do that. And I think it's hilarious that you went to Starbucks and Lululemon because it's just like so typical. Like, like my my partner like his like favorite thing is like Starbucks and Lululemon. That's awesome.
yeah.
Speaking of your husband, his I looked at his Instagram and I cannot believe how he can draw. It was like,
Yeah, he's
what the
very
hell?
talented. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that just like all like freehand? Does he like look at something and just like, or how does he do that?
He has different like ways of going about it. I stopped asking just because of the stuff he produces is incredible. Some things he like plans out and it takes forever for him to do, but he's such a perfectionist. Obviously, a lot of artists
Yeah.
are, but like
Yeah.
the attention to detail is so incredible. Like
Yeah. I,
it's wild. And then there's some times where he just like sits in free hands, and I'm like, how?
how? I can't even draw a stick figure. Like that's
Yeah, my stick figures aren't even like perfect either.
yeah.
So yeah.
So
During oh go ahead.
no, go ahead, you're good.
I was gonna say during the pandemic, one of his big projects was like this giant shark that he worked on. So he's like, I finally have the time to do it, but it's this massive like piece. I'll have to send you a photo so you can
Is it
see it. But
like is it like he's using just like pencils? Like does he paint or is it all just
this one was just pencil. So
okay?
it was it's nuts.
It's impressive. So were you guys living in California during the pandemic?
hmm We were
What were
there.
you and what were you doing for like work at that time? Like what was it like?
So during the pandemic, I was fortunate enough to keep my job. At the time, I was working with Barry's Boot Camp. So
Oh,
I was a studio manager there at Venice. And then once everything closed down, we kind of moved online. So it was just me and all the other studio managers online. And then eventually, once they started lifting some sort of restrictions, we were able to open a few more studios up outside. So I was kind of overseeing that in a sense, but it was just a lot of like unknown and uncharted waters at the time. So it was very difficult. But it was nice that we were still out there because we were still able to stay with our community, but also we were bringing a piece of like calm within the chaos of what COVID was in LA at the time,
right,
um, to people, just to go outside and get like a nice little workout in like the old times. So that was nice. So definitely had community.
right. Is that so
Um,
is that what you guys kind of did? Is just moved it outside for the
Yeah, so
classes? Okay,
we moved it outside and it just started with like just the weighted workout and then eventually it evolved into like we had like treadmills outside, we had spin bikes outside. So it was a great evolution to see it, but it was a lot of work on everyone's part and it was just one of those like how do you stay afloat while keeping the business like alive, but also
that's
bringing
hard.
back your
Yeah,
employees that you had to lay off. And
yeah,
that was like the beauty of that community is it was like, how do we bring our workers back? And I'm just
right.
like, yes. So my heart
Yeah,
was in it, and I was like, we're staying here. Like,
yeah. That's so challenging. I remember. Um, I mean, obviously, I lived in Arizona during the pandemic, so yes, things like had to close and there was like distancing and stuff, but they did not do what they should have compared to places like California and New York and even like Boston. Um, but I remember like, yeah, my CrossFit gym, we would have to do things outside, but I don't think that we were out there very long. Like they
yeah,
ended up letting us like back inside and it was just like, I don't know, you had to stay like 6 feet apart. But it's like when you're in a gym, like I mean,
yeah.
what's really actually going on in there. So whenever I had like sent you the stuff before, so you worked for Bears, you just weren't an instructor.
No, 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 no. It just worked for. Did more of the
Okay.
operation side. That's definitely more my forte.
Yeah.
I kind of picked up like the management, business management side from working at like Starbucks a little bit, but also through Lululemon. So I was
Okay.
with them for 4 years, and they kind of developed me to be like a store manager. But I only made it as far as like assistant store manager there because there weren't any stores available. So they're
Okay.
kind of like just hang out here. But I got to do a lot of cool things, cool events all across LA. And that's how I was recruited to work for Barry's. And they're like, come on over. And then I said, let's do it.
Did you actually do like, I mean, the Barry's workouts too though? Like would you
Yeah.
that's where you worked out? I did it
Yeah.
once. I went to one. I mean, I've been doing CrossFit for like, I don't know, like 12 years or something, but I went to a Barry's here in Boston. I wanted to like try it and it was honestly like I just was so overwhelmed because I felt like there was no um like there was like no like I got there, there was no instruction. Like there's like, yeah, join the class. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like everybody like knows, like they're just like doing their thing. It was like moving like so fast, so fast. And I was like, I'm like, don't even know what the hell to do in here.
Yeah.
It was cool. I
No,
like the concept though. It was cool.
I like group fitness so much more than doing like a solo workout, only because like for berries, for example, it's dark, it's moody. I'm like, perfect. No one's gonna see me work out, and if I
Yeah.
mess up, I won't look like such an idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but like the music's so loud, the red lights are on you. I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of a club. Like, let's
Yeah.
have so much fun. So,
Yeah. That's
no,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, so that's why I loved it.
I think if
And
I would have
then
given it more of a, because I always said like if I had gone like a few times and just let myself kind of get comfortable, I probably would have liked it more. But I mean, I love CrossFit. I wasn't really looking to make like a change. I think they just had like a free like pack
yeah,
of something that I could just like go give it a try. So I went and I was like, well, yeah.
so CrossFit's your go-to.
Yeah, I've been doing it for so long, and it's kind of like what you're saying. Like I love like the community, the group fitness aspect of it. I have tried going back to like a regular gym, and like I'm like I cannot, I
You're like,
cannot
this
do
is
it.
not it.
This is not it. I was looking back on your Instagram. I had seen you made a post like in 2015 of like a transformation that you had made. I didn't realize that you had like gone like down like this major health journey. How
Oh
was that?
yeah. So that was another thing with moving to like LA. Like before I moved out there, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like clean a few things up here and there. And honestly, I just stopped eating like nasty
Shit.
shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's not that hard. And then just like moving your body a little bit more. So it kind of just came off. And then for my 21st birthday, instead of like raging and having a big ol', blackout moment, I actually ran a half marathon instead.
Nice.
So I ran it in Phoenix. So it was on the day before my 21st birthday. So it was like, I'd rather do that instead. And then after that, I was like, all right, this is cool. So then I signed up for more races. And then once I was with Lululemon, they're like, what are your goals for this fitness? What is a goal for this year? And I was like, oh, I'm going to have a fitness goal. And they're like, what is it? And I'm like, I'm going to run 4 half marathons in 1 year. And they're like, okay, put it down. And
Yeah.
I did it. I
Amazing.
fucking did it.
Which ones did you run?
So I ran the Hollywood half first. That was a hot mess because it was just a bunch of like side streets in LA. So you're like out and back, and I'm like, no. I did. Where was the other one? I traveled for this one. Hold on.
Did you do Disney? I
Uh,
thought.
Disney was the last one. That
Okay.
was a lot of fun, and that was kind of like my victory lap because I wanted to sub two.
Mm,
And I did it. I think I did a Halloween one in downtown LA, which was also fun. And then what was the other one? It might have been like the Malibu half or something, but
okay.
they were all like,
All in California.
yeah, all in
Yeah.
California. They were a lot of fun.
I somehow convinced Kai to do a half marathon with me, so we're doing one in June. So we've been training for that. I literally just had like gotten back. I ran like 4.5 miles today. Again, it's raining. It's like so miserable here, but I ran like the full Boston Marathon last year. It's like where the whole podcast was
Hmm.
inspired by, and it was just like this weather. Like it was raining the whole time. It was like, I mean, honestly, it was made it kind of nice because it wasn't freezing and it wasn't like super hot, and the rain kind of like cooled you off. But I
Yeah.
was definitely like drenched by the end of it. But that's awesome. That's cool that you were able to kind of make that goal and do it. I mean, that's not something that's easy to do.
Yeah. And I think like some of like my resilience also comes from how I was trained at Lululemon. They just have so many tools and like workshops and stuff that they invest into the people that kind of make your life a little bit better
Yeah.
and seamless, if that makes sense. It sounds brainwashy and culty, but
No.
for the good.
I will join the Lululemon cult any day. Oh my god, like I
Listen,
I absolutely I love it. I mean, what kind of discounts did you get when you were working there?
it was very generous.
That- that's that's the real question there. I could only imagine how much Lululemon we would have. Like we already have enough, and yeah, if we had some
Listen,
kind of
my
discount.
I felt like my paychecks went right back into the store at times, but I'm like, but look how cute my closet is right now.
Look at me. Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna wear this with this. Like, yeah,
yeah,
no, it was a good time. And they're like, do you not wear regular clothes anymore? I'm like, no, because
yeah,
we have dress clothes now. We have this, we have that.
yeah.
So, I'm like,
Why would you?
yeah, and it's all
I
breathable,
yeah,
stretchy.
yeah. Yes, they're amazing. Like it is expensive to go shopping there, but it is worth it. And like anything that I've bought there, like it lasts. Like the quality is actually worth it.
I purposely have kept like 3 hoodies from when I first started there because they're my absolute favorites, but they are in such pristine condition.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
quality, like come on.
right.
Anyway,
It's amazing. So did you so how when did you guys decide, because you're in Colorado now, right? Denver.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Was your partner, was he from LA?
No, so here's the funny story. Are you ready for this? He's from Arizona.
Oh, okay.
He was born in Phoenix, but
Oh,
his family, like his grandma on his mom's side, lived in Eager,
oh,
Arizona.
stop.
Kid
What
you
the
not.
fuck? That's insane.
And
So he'd been up there?
yeah, so he
Oh,
knew
okay.
of Sholo, like how they introduced us at
They're
Starbucks.
like,
They're like,
no way.
"Oh, there's this new guy from Arizona. You probably know him." And he was like, "Okay, whatever. I don't." But everyone from Arizona knows each other, by the way.
Yeah.
And he asked me where I was from. I was like, "Oh, I'm from Sholo." He's like, "You're from Sholo? People are from Sholo?" And I'm like, I'm like, "Who's this asshole?"
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't like him at first, but and then I'm like, "You know where Sholo is?" And he's like, "Yeah, I go through Sholo to get to Eager." I'm like, "You're from
Oh my
Eager?"
Like, why are you going to Eager?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't go there.
Yeah.
No, but we joke about it because there's one point in time that we probably would at the movies at the same time while he
Oh
was
my
like out
God.
visiting. And I'm like, what
What?
movies
That's
did you see?
crazy.
And he's like, Twilight. I was like, I was probably in that theater at
Yeah,
some point.
of course. Of course. That oh my God. That's hilarious. Like,
Isn't
what are
that
the odds?
wild?
That is
Yeah.
wild. So when did he how long was he in Phoenix for then?
He'd moved around with his family for a while,
Oh,
but
okay.
he moved out to LA a year before I did. So he was
Oh,
already been
nice.
there for a good year. So he probably left like 2012.
Okay.
But now it's nice because both our families live in Phoenix. Like our parents live there, so
Yeah, that makes it
like
so easy.
so easy. So one's on the east side, one's on the west side. So we pick somewhere in the middle, and then it's like, oh, a little bit here, a little bit
The
there, and
the
it's
middle's the best, it's Scottsdale, it's like
exactly.
Yeah, that's, like, perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually loved living I lived in Scottsdale for a little bit, I had a friend who had lived there, and I ended up moving in with her for a little while, and, oh, I loved it there. It's so nice.
Yeah. If I
Yeah,
had to move back somewhere in Arizona, that
yeah,
would probably be it. But
yeah. Now that I'm gone and I've, like, been out of Arizona for a couple years, I, like, don't necessarily miss living there as much, but, yeah, if I had to go back, I would probably go back to Scottsdale.
are you loving this East Coast life though? Like,
I do, yes. I really like Boston. It took us a while to, adjust to it, and people what I've noticed here is, like, people aren't as nice, I guess, like, it's harder to make friends out here because everybody's very, like, they're Boston, like, they're kinda assholes, like, so it and when I moved out here, like, it's not like I, like, got this job and, like, that's usually where I've made a lot of friends. I'm travel nursing, so I hop around all these jobs, and so it's been hard to, like, meet people, um, but now that we've been here a while, like, we're starting to, like, make some friends, and we like it. We'll be here, I think, for a little while. So
okay, that's awesome.
yeah, yep. So when did you guys leave California?
So we left at the end of 2021. We were kind of just like stagnant, not having any movement with everything, and everything was starting to open back up except for stuff in LA. And we were like, all right, we're getting a little stir crazy. Like, let's go do something else for a little bit just to kind of like explore. We haven't traveled in so long, so might as well just like pick up and go somewhere. So we were originally supposed to come to Denver in 2001, but with Braxton's job, like we didn't. They're like, we don't have Denver ready yet, but we had Vegas available.
What's he do?
So
What's his job?
at the time, he was working for a furniture company that
Mm,
kind of like it was like white glove service. So he was
mm,
kind of like the middleman between like people receiving their very expensive furniture and the customer. So
okay,
he was like that middleman that made it happen. It was a really like ritzy job. Like he literally
nice.
got to drive around in like a bougie ass car and
Yeah,
deliver furniture to
deliver
people.
couches.
Yeah,
See their nice ass mansions. Yeah,
yeah, and to like just stage it for them, and it's like, oh, you like it? Great, awesome, we out, bye. Like,
yeah, that's cool.
but that comes with its own territory too. But
Right.
so they're like, but we have Vegas available, so we went there. I ended up going back to Starbucks for a short term of time as a store manager, and then one of my friends was like, "Hey, I need a last minute like manager at this gym." I'm like, "Are you into it?" I was like, "Yeah, like you're paying me more money and it's more fun, more my forte." It's like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Sure.
So I did that for about 5 months before I found my current job here in Denver. And I was like, now we can officially move to Denver, so let's go.
Right. Nice.
So yeah, but now I'm like an operations manager for a local meal kit company that sources everything from local people here in the community. So like the single mom that's like making pasta or sauces or the local bread maker that's just trying to sell bread, to bring home some money. Like we help those
Nice. I
people
love that.
move their product. Yeah. So think of everyone that you see at the farmers market, especially during like the winter. We help them stay afloat since
Like
they
keep
lose all
products
those
coming.
sales. Yeah.
Nice. That's
So
cool. How are you guys liking it out there? How's the adjustment to
so I
Denver?
thought it was gonna be a lot like Sholo in the sense of like weather and temperature and for the longest time people. But this minute we got here, it has been such a vibe. It's so
Yeah.
relaxed here. Like Denver has obviously all the seasons, but like a short distance away, you can go like hike a mountain or go to like the hot springs or go to a lake. It's nice to have that nearby. Yeah, it's honestly a bunch of transplants too here.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
no one's like from here unless you've been here for forever.
Right.
But
Right.
it's a bunch of transplants that just want to like hang out, have a good time, and just be around like quality people. And I feel like that's what Denver is.
That's awesome. I've actually, weirdly enough, I've like with all my travels, I've never been to Denver. I've been to, oh God, I went to Colorado Springs in Colorado, but I've never been to Denver. But I've heard it's an awesome city. I need to get out there.
It's fun. There's a lot to do here. Come visit. We'll have to take you out for celebratory drinks too. By the way,
Yeah.
that's another thing. I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna hijack this interview and talk about you for a second.
I know we finally eloped. It was
Woo!
it was honestly kind of a last minute decision. If I'm being totally honest as to why we did it, we've been engaged for over a year, but
Yeah,
we I was like, 'cause I'm technically travel nursing. I mean, I've been with this job for like over a year now, but I was going to take another job that was like non-benefited, and so I was like, oh God, like I need benefits, and so that's why we were going to just like we were going to elope anyways. But like we're like, let's just do it now. Like, there's been nothing that's been like, let's just like go do it, you know. And so we're like, okay, let's just like set the date. We were like, oh, it's a leap year. That'd be kind of a cool day to do it. So we set the date, and then I ended up just like staying at my job, and I didn't need his benefits. And we're like, well, we already set the date. Like, we've been engaged for so long. Like, let's just do it. And we did. And honestly, it was amazing. Like, it was just the two of us. Like, yeah, we went down to City Hall, and it was like this cute little old lady. I don't even remember her name, like Diane or something. She like said the things, and she literally just like threw the marriage licenses on the desk and said, okay, have a good day. We're like, okay, thanks. But
how cute.
I think we're going to Hawaii in May because that's where he's from. And I think we're gonna do another little just something there that we can like videotape and like, you know, give to like let our friends and family at least like see something, like some kind of like vow exchange or something. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Did you guys
Well,
have a wedding?
we did not. We did the
Yeah.
same. We eloped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So much
but
easier.
honestly, it is. We technically had like two elopements. One was like the legal one at the random courthouse that in LA. Like
Yeah.
that was fun. But then we went to Vegas and someone joked they're like, "Oh, you should get married while you're in Vegas." And we're like, "Actually, maybe this is how we just tell everyone and just say
Oh
like,
yeah.
forget it. Like, let's just
Yeah.
do it." So after a Britney Spears concert, we went upstairs to the chapel, took some photos, and we're like, "Whoop, we're done."
That's awesome.
Which is
That's
very on
amazing.
brand for me. So
Very on brand. Very on brand. I have followed your Britney support for quite a while. It's probably honestly how I got into even like knowing what was going on with Britney Spears. So look at you spreading awareness.
just bringing the people joy,
Yeah.
truth and joy.
Yes, the truth and joy. It's funny, her book was like passed around like the emergency department that I work in. Like everybody was like talking about it and like passing it around. And I was like, man, like you're probably like a Britney Spears expert, but I just have like no idea all that stuff.
Yeah, like it was
Crazy.
always stuff that a lot of us like questioned, and we're like, "Is that true?" And then once she confirmed it, we're like, "Oh, it's kind of eerie," because you're like, "Shit, it's real."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So you were going
yeah.
to her show when she was like forced to be there then, right?
Yeah, I felt really bad after the fact. I was like, "Damn, I
Yeah.
saw that show 4 times."
Oh my god, you did? That's awesome.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I fed the conservatorship,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I didn't
I
know.
mean, yeah, yeah. It was all with like, you know, good intentions.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So you said you guys lived in Vegas then? For how long were you there?
I was there for 10 months. He was there for 11.
Okay. Were you guys down like did you go to a lot of shows while you were there? Is that
So here's the thing. In Vegas,
that's
it's very
totally
much
different?
like the hustle culture. Everyone has like a side gig, but everyone there just wants to make money, which
Yeah,
I respect, right?
sure.
Not a good place to like have like look for community after you've been stuck
Sure.
inside the house for so long. So
Mm,
instead of like trying to make friends, I picked up a side job and I worked a lot of the shows. So I worked
wow.
for Caesars. So I did the shows at the Coliseum and at Planet Hollywood. So
So, but you got to see them then, right? Even
bits
when you're
and
working,
pieces,
or no?
yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
then sometimes with free tickets. But my favorite was by far Shania Twain's residency.
Oh
That
my
was a lot of
god.
fun.
Amazing.
She's
Yeah,
a
that would be
hoot.
oh my god, that would be so fun to see. We almost went to, um Kai had, like, the opportunity with his job. We could have gone back to either Phoenix or Vegas for just, like, a little stint. We would have left in April if we did it. And we thought about Vegas because 'cause we're like, "Oh, that'd be kinda fun. We can go see, like, a bunch of shows while we're there." But then I was like, I mean, if we're there working full time, like, how much time do you actually take to go out and, like, go see a bunch
Hmm.
of stuff? But the only show, like, residency, I guess you'd say, that I've seen there is I went to Kelly Clarkson in last year, which was
You guys went
amazing.
to
But
like three shows, right, or something like that?
well, no, well, we went to her show, and then we did like a Circus Delay show, and
Okay. I
I
thought
think
you
that's
went
really
several multiple nights for her concert.
no
Like,
for
no?
Kelly, no,
Oh,
no.
I
We
thought
just
you
went.
did. I was like, I was so jealous. I was like, oh, he's at it again.
Yeah, I wish. Oh my god, I wish she was. Oh my god, she was so amazing. Love her. I'm
She's the
obsessed.
one I still haven't seen live, and I'm like
You need to.
trying to so hard.
You need to. She's she's amazing. Um, so what is your, partner doing out there? And it's Braxton, right? Is that his name?
Yeah,
Braxton?
yeah, yeah.
What's he
So,
doing in Colorado? Still the same job that he had?
no, so it's a more scaled down job. So he's
Mm,
actually in a furniture showroom now. It gives him a good balance, and just stability, while he can like focus on like art projects and stuff like that. So
nice.
So
Awesome.
it's kind of nice little balance. So he has his thing, and then I do my thing throughout the week. It's a nice little Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends I kind of just hang out at like fitness studios with like this little group of people that I've connected with.
Nice. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll definitely have to make it out to Denver because I don't know anybody else that lives there now. I mean, here I met you, so we should, yeah, get out there. It'd be fun. I know one person who's, like, from Denver, but she doesn't live there anymore, so,
yeah. Come
yeah.
visit. I'll show you
Yeah.
around, give you the tour. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's a vibe.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to go. We love to travel, so we need Denver's
Perfect.
definitely, like, on the list.
Yes.
Yeah, so, one of my like, the last question I kinda wanna talk to you about is, kinda like the basis of the podcast. I named it Mile 17 just kind of after the marathon. For everybody that's been listening, it just was a point for me that was really, like, I'd seen my friends, seen my family. I, like, had, like, nothing left in the tank. I had to dig a little deeper and, just kinda prove to myself that I could get to the end. And so that's kind of like how I've transitioned this into like a metaphor for life, and just share something that you have gotten through that you didn't think you were going to be able to, but when you did, like you look back and it kind of changed you as a person or just your perspective on things, something that like you look back on and just are proud of yourself for like getting through.
Yeah, I think the one thing that was the hardest for me was to kind of let go of my small town experience. And I didn't know I had such a big issue with it until someone from like high school like reached out asking me if I was going to go to the 10-year reunion, and I like lost it on them. It's like, one, not their fault. But I'm like, why would I want to see these people? I hate all of it. I was just in a dark place about it. Um, so after a lot of like therapy and like digging down, I think I finally like closed that chapter and finally looked at it from a lens of like gratitude, because it made me who I am today. um it's taught me a lot of things of the things that I don't want, but also some beautiful things that I did get to witness growing up, like the importance of like family, for example. But I think kind of like letting go of the past and being like, be grateful rather than angry towards it, but also letting go of the things that don't serve you and your happiness, and choosing happiness over pretty much anything. And I think that's kind of how I was able to like grow within myself, but also just get to the point where I am living a happy life for myself, being who I am, not having to compromise. And I don't know, it's one of those things where you're just like, it doesn't serve me. I don't need it, but I also don't need to like shit on it either, you know?
Right. I love, honestly, I love that answer because I really relate to that a lot. And I honestly, like, I think that's amazing that you've been able to get to this point and to be able to look back on, you know, for it's such a unique experience. One reason I just wanted to kind of connect with you and talk to you because it's a really unique experience um, for us to have gone through something like that. You know, we even had very different experiences with kind of our upbringing in Sholo, but at the same time, like just very similar in that like the feelings that we were having and the things that we were trying to process, and then the feelings that we've had since we've left. So I think that that's great that you've been able to kind of face the thing that was so scary and, that you had such a negative outlook on and kind of turn it into something more of, this has made me who I am. And that's such a beautiful thing because it truly has. Like without that experience, like, right, you wouldn't be who you are today. So I love that. That's amazing. I do have another question for you. What's your recommendation on like finding like a good therapist? Because I tried therapy. I only did it once and something I didn't like my therapist. I just felt like it wasn't benefiting me at all, like
Yeah.
she was a very nice lady, but she was very like fixated on like this one thing. Like was so fixated on like me not being happy with my job. And I was like, okay, like, can we move on from that? Like, I have so much shit I need to unpack. I, like every time we get, and then like she finally said to me, like, Colton, like, I think you're doing good. Like, I don't really think I need to see you anymore. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like we haven't even started, but like, okay. Like, and so I just like, what's your recommendation on like finding somebody or like in person versus like, on like a Zoom call? Like, what do you think?
Yeah. So my biggest thing, it's like finding a therapist is kind of like going on a blind date. And you do sometimes have to have several dates to find them. Uh, what helped me, I use BetterHelp. I don't know if you've heard of that, but you can pick different therapists like based on like different criteria. So if you're looking
Hmm.
for like a um, queer friendly therapist or a queer therapist or any kind of therapist, honestly, you can just select the criteria and their
Like a
specialty.
profile. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's shopping around, and then after one session, if you felt, like you vibed with them, like great. I was fortunate enough to my first therapist that I found, I actually met at a yoga class in LA, and we had a few sessions like back and forth for about a year. And that helped, but then they moved away, and I liked the in person at first, and then once pandemic happened, and it was all
They get no
online, I was
choice. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I had no choice, but that's when I shopped around. But yeah, I recommend doing like in person. That sometimes releases that barrier that we create here with this camera, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's just going on a bunch of blind dates, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just hard, like, because that was the thing is I was like, I felt like I like wanted to like tell her like so much more, but then like I just felt like I don't know if it was the screen or like if I just felt like she wasn't gonna like give me like I don't know like what I was looking for. I don't know. And like I
yeah,
said, she was very nice, but I think this is also something like I obviously need therapy because I was like I think I'm like I such a people pleaser that I was like oh I don't want to like hurt her feelings like and I know therapists are probably so like used to people like jumping ship and trying somebody else, but I was like
hmm,
oh I'll just stick with her. She's like this cute, like older lady. So I think it just was
yeah.
not what I needed.
Yeah, I usually find someone that's like almost like peer to peer conversations. It makes it
No,
easier because they're
I
like,
think so.
oh, we're at like same walks of life ish, same
Yeah,
age. But also no, it's like they're taking your money, so don't feel bad at
yeah.
all. Like this spot, that time spot is for you.
I know it's so
Like
stupid,
you
and
need
that's
to,
what I'm saying. Like yeah, I recognize that, and like that's why I'm like, oh
yeah,
my god, like I'm very like self aware of like things, but then I still just like do it anyway. It's so stupid, but
totally. But just know they're working for you.
yeah, yeah, that's a great way to look at it because it's not cheap, so that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, get your
Yeah,
money's worth. And listen, like I like to ramble off in therapy, and they're like, "Hey, let's go back to revisit that." And then that's when I have like those aha moments. So it's like,
yeah,
"Oh, I didn't realize that was bothering me so much." But then you
yeah.
let it go, and you feel so good. A
Yeah, yeah. No, I think everybody needs a little bit of therapy.
little bit, a little
Yeah, a little bit. Some more than others.
bit.
Well, Francisco,
But
thank you so much. Like honestly, this was like so awesome. I loved kind of getting to like pick your brain and just I love hearing about people's just their pasts and like what people kind of go through and just like watching you process like all of this is just it's amazing. Like, it's just I think people who like go through things and can come out on the other side like a better, bigger person and can just like look at things through a different lens. It's amazing. So thank you so much for like sharing all this and being so open and allowing me to kind of have you on this show. And I can't wait to share this with everybody.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. This is such a great experience, and congratulations on everything that you're doing with the podcast and your life. And it's really exciting, and it's really cool to see how much you've
Thank you.
grown in the last few years. So just know it's like you have a special place in my heart.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you. And I'm gonna talk to Kaya. We're gonna get out to Denver.
Please do. We'll be waiting.
All right. I'll catch you later, Francisco.
Take care.